Welcome back, everyone. We are here with Mandy B. Anderson, co-founder and CEO of the Big Blue Couch Coaching. And well, I feel like we're getting our own coaching session right here. And we did when we were talking about 3 mindsets that you need to let go of in 2019. And you've shared this story with us in the past, but today, could you tell us a little bit about your book here? And it's your story, correct?
It is. So She Who Overcomes, Rising Out of the Ashes of Your Circumstances is my story of overcoming that stigma of living with cystic fibrosis, but also of how I kind of got back on my feet after a season of PTSD and depression and anxiety after losing our home to an apartment fire. So about 8 years ago was the Galleria fire right here in Fargo, and we were a part of that. We lost everything we owned that day. And after that, I kind of found myself in a couple years of going through just anxiety and PTSD and getting really sick from some choices I made with cystic fibrosis, and so of not doing my medication. But this is my story of how I kind of overcame that. And a lot of what is in this book is what we teach at a Beautiful Wholeness event. And so it kind of is like Beautiful Wholeness in a book.
I love this, and I'm really into this right now. It's not necessarily a self-help book, but it's inspiring instead. You've gone through so much, and look where you are now. What do you hear from people who have read this book?
You know, it's interesting because I hear a lot of people that have read this book that come from the walk of life where they're feeling like, I just don't know how to get back up again after not necessarily always a tragedy, but sometimes, but just those things that kind of knock you down in life, whether you have tried a lot of times and it just hasn't worked yet, whether maybe you've gone through some tumultuous relationships, and they're finding that this has really given them the outlook to just rise up and overcome themselves, but it's also given them the tools to do that. I have a friend in Florida who told me that she just shared this book with a friend of hers who said, like, after a day or two of reading through it, she finally found the courage to, you know, get out of bed and do something meaningful with her life, whereas before she had been kind of trapped in that hopelessness. And I know what that's like when you go up against something that you didn't see coming. It can make you want to just give up on life. And maybe for a season you do that just because it's a coping mechanism and you need to give your heart that place to grieve, but eventually you got to get back up again. And what I have learned is that those ashes in your life are the great ground for growing beauty. Like, they're great fertilizer for better things to grow from.
I love that. And I know you've mentioned this as you coach people. It doesn't have to be a devastating fire. Like, whatever you're dealing with, big or small, you kind of start moving forward the same way.
You do. You really do. And I think it's always so interesting. We work one-on-one with some clients, and they usually say, I hope you're up for a challenge. I've got some issues. And I think to myself, you know, everybody thinks that they're a challenge. And what it really comes down to is having somebody who will listen to them and guide them at the same time. There's a delicate balance of listening and challenging clients when they're going through things.
So greatest lesson learned from your literally ashes story is what?
Greatest lesson learned is to don't waste the pain. Just make something purposeful out of it, because when you have the perspective to look for that, you'll find it.
Where can people get this book?
So this book is actually available on Amazon as a paperback or brand new as an ebook as well.
And you have written some other things as well.
I have. There's a couple other Bible studies on Amazon, and my very first book was called In Sickness and in Health, Lessons Learned on the Journey from Cystic Fibrosis to Total Health. You can get that on Amazon too. I'm going to tell you, this is probably better. I think that first one was just, you know, sometimes as a first-time author, you just have to get out the fluffy stuff. This has a lot more meat to it, I think.
I love it. And we mentioned this before, but one more time, the event coming up in Bismarck.
In Bismarck on February 23rd, and it is from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. That is an event for women. You can get all the details at bigbluecouchcoaching.com.
And you have another event coming up in Fargo, but not till April.
We do. It'll be in April. We're finalizing the date and the location today. So maybe next time I'm here, I'll have those details for you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Congrats on a book, too. That's no small feat.
Coming up on North Dakota Today, we've heard of plenty of viral challenges, but this one is for a great cause, and it's happening right here in our community.